Hey everyone, it's 10 Types, and Black Bolt and White Flare are right around the corner. In fact, they're coming today, not today at the time of recording, but today at the time of posting this, in I think around an hour of posting this on Pokemon TCG Live and releasing physically the day after that. And these two sets are really interesting. They have a lot of cards. We see 86 cards per set, which is I mean, it's not insane, but these are like mini sets. So for that, it's pretty substantial. And the cards are not bad. I will say most of the best cards, which the set or these two sets do have legitimately very good cards. Not like absolutely insane cards, but pretty solid cards here. Comparing the two combined to like a regular set, it's pretty solid. However, most of the good cards, actually pretty much all of the good cards, are pretty boring. So it's not the most exciting YouTube content. I think a lot of people are, a little bored of that. However, there are some really exciting cards here that create some cool cards that work in interesting ways with existing cards to create some really cool decks and deck ideas. So I'm going to be going over 5 here today. Actually, like 4 interesting deck ideas. I'm not going to lie, the last one's kind of boring, I guess. It's not like super boring. It's a cool enough deck idea, but also it's not like the craziest. But I want to make it 5 for the thumbnail and title. So, anyways, let's just hop right in here. The main Pokemon aren't going to be new for a lot of these. Some of them are, but definitely some really cool concepts here. And the first new deck slash card here is Wug Trio. Wug Trio it originally released in Scarlet and Violet base set, and it has the attack Undersea Tunnel here on a stage 1 for 3 colorless. You flip 3 coins, for each heads, mill 3 cards from the top of your opponent's deck. Mill as and discard them. So it's okay, averaging 4.5 cards milling is really good, but also you're a stage 1 here, and your attack's pretty expensive, so not the easiest thing to pull off here, unfortunately. However, Wug Trio is a card that is, really interesting, definitely a bit of a fan favorite here, because it's also not super good. They're also on like reflip effects, so it didn't really have the tools to work with it. However, the one special energy, reversal energy is 3 energy of any type on an evolution Pokemon if you're down on prizes, which you're going to be down on prizes most of the game with Wug Trio. Obviously, you're not down on prizes at the start of the game, but ultimately it's a pretty strong card within this deck. However, you only have one. That's only one card, so you can only have 4 copies of it, which isn't, enough for the whole game, and it's hard to find as a special energy. There are ways to search it. I'll mention the new supporter Hilda. Yes, an evolution Pokemon and an energy, including potentially a special energy. So that's like kind of cool, but ultimately Wug Trio just isn't really good enough. It could be like a tech card. If you're building around it, you could just play reversal energy like we see in this list here. You could play like double turbo, which is rotated, plus like some other energies, which is kind of awkward. And I don't know what this deck is. So, this is control. So you could just do like control stuff as well. But ultimately, you're not really leaning into it. However, we do have the new special energy, Ignition Energy, which you see 3 colorless energies on an evolution here. It does get discarded at the end of the turn, but also you only have 90 HP here. You're probably getting knocked out, and that's fine. And if you're not, you can hopefully just find another one. And yeah, I mean, it just pays for your attack. It's not anything super fancy here, though. There are some interesting things you can do with this deck, but they get a little crazier, which could be bad. But ultimately, this card, Wug Trio with Ignition Energy and Reversal Energy, I think is all right. I don't think it's amazing. Notably, there's a good amount of like spread things in the game, or snipe with like Dragapult EX, the main one, which is very good, and then also something like Marnie's Grimmsnarl EX can't be great for you. And obviously, you're not applying pressure to them either. So you're applying pressure to their resources, but you're not applying pressure to their Pokemon. Really, you could like remove some energy, but you're certainly not knocking it out. So Wug Trio, probably not great. These decks aren't super good, I'm not going to lie. However, Wug Trio is a card that is really fun. And also, you can mill your opponent through another way, which is the new supporter card, Clown. Clown, I'm not going to lie, is bad. But it's really funny here and actually decent with Wug Trio, which I think Uncommon Fossil might have told me about, or not. We were talking about it like before our podcast, I think, last week. But Clown is a supporter that says each player shuffles their hand into their deck. Then you flip a coin. If heads, you draw 5 cards, your opponent only draws 3. So that's pretty good in the head scenario, obviously, because you get 5 cards, which is good, and your opponent gets 3 cards, which is not that good for them. It's not insane drawing 5. Shuffle draw 5 isn't like that good, but it's all right. And forcing your opponent to shuffle draw 3 is like okay, it's a better judge. It's like I'd say it's like a good Iono, but it's not like an insane Iono, so it's pretty solid there. But then if you flip tails, you only get to draw 3 cards, and your opponent draws 5. Obviously, shuffle draw 3 is like kind of bad. I was talking about Iono, and it's kind of like a bad Iono there, and you're helping your opponent. However, you're making them draw more cards, and with Mill, then they're drawing more cards, so theoretically you can help deck them out. Um, so you have like some upside with both options, which is like kind of cool. Also, there is the supporter Lucian. This is a pretty similar supporter. I have not really played this. Apparently, someone played it in a pretty serious tournament. It's seen like a little play. Apparently, I've never really like. I mean, it's not that good, but it says each player shuffles their hand, puts it on the bottom of their deck. Honestly, didn't realize it was the bottom, but it doesn't matter. And then you flip a coin, or each player flips a coin. If heads, they draw 6. If tails, they draw 3. And again, same idea. I mean, obviously, you want to draw 6 cards, presumably, but for your opponent, if they draw 3, they're not drawing that many cards. And if they're drawing 6, then they're drawing a bunch of cards, which means that they're going through their deck faster. So that's kind of a fun idea. It's not like super good. I mean, you're kind of just giving them more cards into their hand. We've seen mill cards like this, like Comfy or Chandelure, which are like kind of mill cards by forcing your opponent to draw cards, which isn't that good. And you could also theoretically pair those with 0/6 Machinations, and you can't really do that with Lucian or Clown because they are supporters. However, it's like still kind of cool, I feel like, and just like kind of a fun idea. I wanted to throw it in. Clown specifically, a new supporter that it's not really a card that is usable very much, but it kind of works with the Wug Trio. So you have a fun little deck, and of course, Ignition Energy, really, really good for the deck. So you have some fun stuff here, and a bit of a fan favorite. But moving on to the next Pokemon, we have Meloetta EX. This is a new Pokemon and a deck build around. I guess it's actually not really a deck build around. And also, this is probably the best card we're talking about in this video. I mean, I guess Ignition Energy might be better as well, but Meloetta EX is pretty interesting with this ability Live Premier, which allows you to attack turn 1 going first, which is obviously you can't normally do that. There is Bombardier EX and some other ones, I guess, but those aren't like they don't do damage. So this can do damage with Echoed Voice, doing a whole 30 for one Psychic. Yeah, that's not great. You can do 80 more in your future turns, assuming you don't switch or get knocked out or something. So then you're doing 110, which like isn't that good. 110 turn 2 is probably less impressive than 30 turn 1, which still isn't that impressive. However, you can pair it with Pekkarunt, or not necessarily with Pekkarunt. You can pair it with the things that are generally paired with Pekkarunt for a turn 1 Donk. If you're not familiar, Donk is the deck where you well, it's not necessarily a deck, but it can be a deck. I will actually be playing these decks as well, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those, and also like that really helps out the channel. Even if you're not sure if you wanna watch future ones, liking my videos really helps out. But anyways, you have Pekkarunt Donk. I think is the only way in Standard that people are really donking their opponents, which is the idea of knocking out their opponent. Their opponent's only Pokemon. People use the word in different ways. I've heard it even just been used as loosely as one-shots, but normally it's applying the idea of knocking out your opponent's only Pokemon turn 1. It could be turn 1 going second, but it's really definitely a donk if you're turn 1 going first, knock out your opponent's only Pokemon in the active. Pekkarunt does, well, so Brute Bonnet poisons both active Pokemon here, and then Perilous Jungle increases poison to non-darkness Pokemon. There are good darkness Pokemon in the game, but like it's not a huge deal that doesn't poison darkness. But then Pekkarunt here increases poison by 5. However, that's 50 damage, but they need to be poisoned. So Meloetta can do the damage just on its own for 1 Psychic here. I will say it needs an energy. Pekkarunt doesn't, but you're probably pairing it with Latias EX. Also, I will mention there are a few Donk Pokemon, or like Pokemon that could be used for Donk, which are Valiant EX and Volcanion EX, which do damage essentially if they're in the active. That's a bit of a paraphrase, but that's the basic idea, but they are more committal. So I said I'm going to play these decks. I don't actually know how I'm going to build them, but you could do that if you're going all in on Donk. They take up a bunch of space as well. And then you also don't want to use areas or underdepths because you want Perilous Jungle. However, Brute Bonnet poisons both active, so then Pekkarunt is an extra 50 damage. So Pekkarunt's actually stronger than Meloetta EX, doing 50, except Meloetta does 30. Except Meloetta is an attack here, so its damage can be buffed by something like Binding Mochi, which synergizes really well here, increasing damage done by 40 if your active is poisoned. So then you can attach this here and be doing 70, which is 20 more than Pekkarunt's 50, which isn't great. You're not doing huge damage here, but it is some extra damage. Also, if you're hitting weakness, you can double that up. So, can you one-shot Roaring Moon? I don't know. That seems like a lot. I don't think you're still doing that, unfortunately. Or fortunately, maybe it's good you're not doing that much damage, but you can hit weakness using Liz Clefairy EX, though again, that is another Pokemon, so bench space, like this deck isn't that good. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of terrible. It's actually kind of good for grinding the ladder, where you just kind of want wins. It's not like that good, but it's okay because you just Well, you'll see in the video. I'm gonna upload it tomorrow. Probably actually no, today, right after this. I haven't recorded it, but recording it tomorrow at the time of recording. But yeah, the games aren't super fun, but they're kind of funny. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe. But anyways, a Meloetta Donk is kind of a thing. It's more of a thing in Expanded, where there's a lot more damage buffs and like different things you can do. Technically, you compare it with TMs as well. I think Meloetta EX as a whole is like a decent Pokemon, potentially playable in something like Gardevoir EX or Dragapult EX, but within its own deck, you can pair it with the Poison Donk stuff and have a really really unique deck to say the least. But then we have the next Pokemon here, which is also very unique, which is Hydragon EX. I also want to mention here, there's another Hydragon EX. They have like no synergies. I got a comment. Someone's like they have like insane synergy, but like you need like, they don't, because you need like I think it was that you need like 9 energies across the two of them to like power them up, which is like in like a bunch of turns of attacking. So that's not actually really synergy. But anyways, they are the same Pokemon. You could play them together, and there's like some stuff you could do, but it's kind of bad. So anyways, Hydragon EX, so this one here is a really unique Pokemon, again, with an ability you want to take advantage of, because your attack is 200 for 5 and then stops retreating, which is like super horrible. Stopping retreating like hardly matters, specifically with this like massive damage. Not insane damage though. For 5, 200 isn't that good. We see 200 on a basic like all the time. So this is like kind of terrible. However, you have a really interesting ability, which is actually kind of insane, saying that if your opponent's basic Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this Pokemon's attacks, take one more prize for that knockout. And this also applies with technical machines by damage. So actually only 2 technical machines. There's I believe 6, and only 2 of them do damage. Technically, TM Devolution can like cause knockouts, but it doesn't do damage, and it doesn't even directly cause the knockout. So that certainly doesn't work. And then obviously TM Evolution doesn't work. TM Turbo Energize doesn't work. And then TM Fluorite, I think, is the other one. Doesn't work either. There is TM Crisis Punch or Shot. What is it? Crisis Punch, which like technically works with this and is like kind of good, but it only works on like one turn of the game. So ultimately, it's not a deck build around, though it is like kind of cool, I guess. It is doing more damage, but TM Blindside is really interesting here. I will say this applies, I believe, it applies to bench Pokemon as well. And TM Blindside can hit the bench. You attach TM Blindside, and then you can use for 3 colorless, which can be paid for with an Ignition Energy, by the way, which is like cool. I guess that's probably actually how you want to build it. And then for 3 colors here, you do 100 to one of your opponent's Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. If you're hitting the bench, you can pair this with Hawlucha to get 2 get damage counters on their bench Pokemon, and then just 1, right? That's all you need. And then you can snipe them. Shaman is played honestly a lot for the fact that it's like not that good. I'm not gonna lie. It's like it doesn't counter that many things in standard that are actually played, though. It has value. But anyways, there is Shaman played a lot, and if your opponent realizes what's going on, which they might not, I'm not gonna lie, because like who's playing Hydragon EX? But anyways, you can use this, and but if they Shaman, you can't. So that's unfortunate. You need to go after their active then, which like you can do, but that's kind of awkward. So anyways, there's a lot of awkward pieces to this, but if you're able to pull it off, you can take 2 prizes on a single prize basic, which is pretty solid. And it's not insanely hard to do if it's going. You don't need that many pieces. You need some pieces, and the pieces aren't really searchable, so that's kind of bad. But it's kind of interesting. You could use Colossus Tenacity to get the energy and the tool, and I mean, like, you can kind of get it to work. Again, it's not super easy. Like Hawlucha, you can't get with Nest Ball or Buddy Buddy Poffin and actually have its ability work. So you could also use a Monkey Dory, but you're not like, I mean, you have high HP, but you're not some insanely tanky Pokemon. And while you are a Darkness Pokemon that can use Darkness Energy, that's not necessarily what you're looking to do. So a lot of awkward things here, but it is, I think, a way that like you could get Hydragon EX to work. I thought this card was horrendous, but I definitely think this is the best way to play it. And it's kind of interesting, kind of annoying as well. It's kind of like Iron Hands EX with more steps, but more HP as well. So, an interesting card here. Also, the energy and the tool fall off every turn, so that's not great. But again, this is kind of a cool combo. Definitely something I expect to see on Little Dark Fury, right? This is like the definition of a Little Dark Fury Pokemon, but yeah, definitely a cool card here. Then we have the last like really cool card here. I realized, look at my tabs, I have an extra one open. But this is Giggalith, which is bad. I'm not gonna lie, Giggalith is pretty terrible, but interesting as well. And this one I was also talking about with Uncommon Fossil. We were kind of brainstorming because its attack here, Revenge Cannon for 1 fighting, does 20 for each damage counter. On each your benched fighting Pokemon. I don't think there are any good synergies with this, like in standard. The combo I'm going to talk about is actually an expanded combo here, which I'm not super familiar with expanded. So tell me down below in the comments if there is a better combo than this in standard or expanded. Obviously, standard is like more applicable, but expanded can be really fun as well. But it's cheap, right? So you don't need that much setup. It is a stage 2, so not the easiest thing, but you know, it's kind of cool, and you could theoretically do big damage as well. However, you can use Gardevoir EX, which is a Pokemon in Standard that gets a lot of damage on the board. This was the idea I thought of, I think, or maybe Uncommon Fossil. But obviously, it's like kind of bad for this because, well, it's actually horrible because it only accelerates energy to psychic Pokemon. Also, it like needs a bunch of energy, but obviously Gardevoir is very good and is useful for getting damage on your Pokemon for something like Drifloon or Screamtail. But this is like kind of different. Also, it's not that strong. It's like the same amount of damage as Screamtail, but it's a stage 2. But obviously, the biggest issue is that it only accelerates to Psychic Pokemon, and then this needs to be a damage on Fighting Pokemon. Luckily, there's a Pokemon that fits that description, which fits perfectly, I guess, because it's a stage 2, but it is Gallade. From Cosmic Eclipse here with its ability Double Type. If it's in play, it's Psychic and it's also Fighting. It has an attack here, but we're not going to worry about that because you can just slap 7 energy on it, get 140 damage on it, be swinging for 280 for 1 fighting on a stage 2. That honestly sounds like really bad. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's the same amount as Ethan's Typhlosion, right? I'm not imagining that. That's the same amount. Yeah, but it's funny, right? It's really funny. You have Gardevoir and Gallade and Giggalith, the triple G deck, which is using this like crazy combo where you have like all these stage 2s, which is kind of funny, right? I feel like it's shockingly fitting because I was looking at these two cards. How do you combine them together? Use Gallade in the same line as Gardevoir EX. Um, Honestly, this is like pretty terrible, but it's really funny. It's definitely the definition of a crazy deck with a lot of moving pieces here. You do have the Curly engine as well and expanded to work like decently well, I think. Again, it's not amazing. You need what, like, is it 8 energy or something like that? Um, so yeah, 8 energy. Then it's gonna be, or no, sorry, yeah, 8 energy, 7 psychics, which are gonna be you're quadrupling that number to 280, or I guess quadruple times 10 because it's damage, but that's not that strong. You could get multiple Gallades as well. Theoretically, you could just like pair this with something like I'll probably just pair it honestly with like Machamp, right? That would probably just be better. Maybe I'll do that. I'm not sure. Machamp has, that's not the right Machamp. Machamp with its ability Guts, if it would be one-shotted, you flip a coin. If heads, then it's not knocked out. There might be other cards like it that I can't think of. But it's like, that'd probably be a little better. I mean, you're actually one-shotting, so you're doing more damage there. You could also, with Gallade, you could slap on a tool to get more HP, like Luxurious Cape or something. But I'm actually gonna quickly check if there are fighting Pokemon with an ability in Standard that would work for that. Actually, I'll just do any format, and let's see anything awesome and amazing here. These look bad. I'm just quickly flipping through. Yeah, I don't think in Standard you got anything that's checking the box you're looking for. Great Tusk, specifically, yeah, this Great Tusk EX has like high HP, which is cool. So theoretically you could do that, but that's kind of bad. Also, if it's in the activate, you mill 5 from yourself every turn, so that's not great. Yeah, it doesn't look like we have quite the right thing you're looking for here, unfortunately. Earlier than that, I gotta imagine there's an ability. I mean, we got Guts on Hariyama here as well, same ability. Yeah, maybe there's something else, but I can't think of it. I don't really feel like looking too much because ultimately it's not like it's gonna be that good. Might be missing something. I mean, there's some Pokemon with really high HP like the Machamp, but ultimately, I think the Gardevoir Gallade Giggalith combo is so funny. But tell me down below if this is just like silly to the point where it's not fun. But I feel like it's silly to the point where it is fun. But then we have the last deck, which is actually potentially the best one, which is just Festival Lead. Nothing super fancy here. We got Festival Lead, and you got Brave Bangle. This is kind of cool, allowing you to go and double up the damage. Brave Bangle increases it by 30 to Pokemon EX, which is like good. And then you can double it up, so you're actually increasing it by 60 because you're attacking twice. So that's a pretty good combo. Honestly, Festival Lead is just getting so much better with Brave Bangle. Festival Lead isn't that good, right? It's not a deck that sees that much play. There's this like Hydragon Festival Lead deck that's like kind of cool. They got a little bit of talk. It's certainly not that good, but it is cool. I'm not gonna lie. Really fun and pretty silly. But ultimately, Festival Lead isn't like super good. But Brave Bangle is gonna help it out. And compared to most of these decks, it's actually pretty decent. But tell me down below in the comments what you're most excited for from Black Bolt, White Flare. Obviously, you got the really good cards like like Air Balloon and Tool Scrapper, which are kind of boring but really good. And then you have some other cool cards like Genesect EX and Jellicent EX, which are also kind of cool but also kind of boring. But tell me down below, as I said, what you're most interested in, and make sure you leave a like as well, because that really helps out. And also subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video, including the one releasing later today, and lots of new ones for the new set.